At most, if you're going to rest, sit on the couch. You can even have your feet up on the couch, your legs straight on the couch, even in a reclining position, even like a position like this, even that's fine. No laying, okay? No sir, no ma'am. We're not going to be laying down anymore if your capacity is quite high. Save the laying down for the folks whose capacity is much more lower, all right? These are my folks who are housebound, couchbound. Majority of the time, you're probably gonna lay. Hey there, Coach Junior here from the CFS Recovery team, and in this video we are going to be talking about how to approach physical activity and some practical steps that you can apply during your recovery if you feel a little bit lost on what to do right now, because maybe you're hearing some information here and then you're hearing some information over there that's contradicting the information that you heard, right? Now, before we get started, just like in every video, I must preface that I am not a doctor, I am not a medical professional by any means, I am just somebody who happened to heal from this condition, have had the privilege to talk to thousands of clients, and now am using all the information that I've learned from my studies and my experience to give you advice that hopefully will help you on your journey. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about physical capacity. But I think before we can even go into that step, I think understanding the concept that the nervous system loves balance, okay? I always want you to remember that. The nervous system, it loves balance. It heals when it's balanced, when it lies somewhere in the middle. This will be a lot more clear when I talk about direct examples of what balanced looks like. So let's talk about the first thing that relates to balance a little bit. Now, I think we all, if you've done enough research and if you follow enough things on social media, Facebook, or however you get your MECFS, long COVID, or nervous system news, that you hear a certain narrative of don't push, don't do things, right? Don't go out of your comfort zone, don't do too much. You need to pull back, you gotta pull back, you gotta rest. Now, the follow-up question becomes, is this correct? Are these people actually telling the truth and saying that you don't want to push, do too much, and overstimulate your nervous system? Yes, they are actually correct, okay? You don't want to overpush. You don't want to overdo it too much. You don't want to push yourself to the point of overwhelm or much past your limits, because overpushing can keep you sick and overpushing can keep you stuck. Here's the thing that I don't hear a lot of people speaking about. You cannot have one without the other, okay? If you have one thing, it means inevitably its opposite exists. So what am I saying? I'm saying absolutely it's true that you can overpush and do too much, and that'll keep you sick and stuck. You can also overrest as well and do too little, and that can also keep you sick and stuck. That's what I find most commonly within the program and in relation to the people that I work with. They used to be pushers. Push. Go very heavy on the push. And then they'll have a few really bad experiences symptom-wise, or they'll get into some huge crashes or some really big flare-ups, and then they'll pull back, understandably, because those flare-ups can sometimes be really debilitating and very awful. So a lot of people have a tendency to pull back, even sometimes just purely out of fear, because they don't want to go through that again. And then they go from the go, push person, now swinging to the other extreme, where they're now a little bit too overly hesitant to go again. And what these folks need to understand is it's not that you pushed yourself or nudged that got you in that situation. It's because you did it too much. You overpushed that kept you sick and stuck. But you don't want to swing to the other side. Be careful if that is something that you've experienced where you swung to the other side and now you're somebody who's overly hesitant, over resting, and you're doing too much resting to an extreme. Some examples of what this can look like. Let's say somebody's capacity is actually quite high, right? And let's say you're able to go to university, you work part-time, see friends every now and then. That's somebody who's got some quite high capacity. How are you resting compared to what are you doing, right? Because if your life is that active, in no way, shape, or form should you be laying down at all throughout the day. Unless maybe you're taking a little bit of a midday nap. I spoke to somebody a couple weeks ago, and they told me that their capacity was that high, but on rest days, they found themselves laying down pretty much all day looking at their iPad screen. I told them, no, you are resting in such extreme way. You don't want to take it there if your capacity is that high. It's inappropriate compared to where you are relatively, okay? Get a gauge on where you are and assess the situation of, does my rest match appropriately with my level of expansion? Because if your level of expansion is quite high, I don't want you laying down. The only time you should be laying down is when it's time to go to sleep. At most, if you're going to rest, sit on the couch, okay? You can even have your feet up on the couch, your legs straight on the couch, even in like a reclining position. I'll show you here, hold on. Even like a position like this, even that's fine. No laying. Okay, no sir, no ma'am. We're not going to be laying down anymore if your capacity is quite high. Save the laying down for the folks whose capacity is much, much more lower, all right? These are my folks who are housebound, couchbound. Majority of the time, you're probably gonna lay. If your capacity is higher, we gotta get away from the laying, okay? It's not good. So we don't wanna be too extreme with our pushing. You can over push, you can also over rest. You don't want to rest in a very extreme way either. Let's talk about some other physical tips that I have for you. In terms of being really all or nothing, body language is really important, body posture, and the musculoskeletal system, it communicates with the brain in terms of what you're doing with it. You guys want to know something that I used to do in my recovery that I had no idea was actually making me continuing to stay sick? I would go for a walk every day. This was when I was trying to expand my walking back. Right? So I'd go for a walk, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And I would come back from the walk and I would immediately take my shoes off and go lay down on the couch. That is so unbelievably extreme. I'll tell you why. It's because the body goes from an upright, mobilized position to an immediately laying down flat position. No good. Very extreme. Remember, nervous system doesn't like extreme, right? It doesn't like things going from one extreme to another. It likes a little bit more gradual gray area in the middle, okay? So instead, something that I would do is I would come back from my walk. I would take my shoes off. I would hang out, putter around the house a little bit, hang out in the kitchen. Then if I absolutely needed to, I would sit down on the couch. I wouldn't lay down, but I would sit down on the couch and just relax from there. Okay? So if that's something that you're doing, try not to do that so much either. Another tip that I have for you, just to help you with the physical a little bit. If you're trying to build stamina, specifically, let's just say you're walking about 30 minutes and you would like to eventually get up to 40 minutes. I see a lot of people make mistake, and they make mistake like this. They'll walk for 30 minutes, go into a flare-up adjustment period. They'll pull back, they'll hang out for a little bit, rest. And then the next time they come out of the adjustment period, they try to walk for 35 minutes straight. Eventually, if I keep doing this, I'll hit 40, right? You're probably doing yourself a disservice by doing that. Again, the nervous system doesn't like extremes. Right? If you're going to do one long 30-minute walk, very difficult to stretch the rubber band even farther. Here's what you want to do instead. Chunk it down. If you're able to walk for 30 minutes, that means you're able to take a walk for about 30 minutes per day. Try instead walking 2 times for 17-ish minutes, right? And then when you add it up, that's about like 38-ish minutes to 40 minutes, right? And you build up that way. So instead of one long 30-minute walk, trying to extend the rubber band out to 35, cut it in half, split it up, chunk it down, and do instead 2 like 17 to 18-minute-ish walks. That is actually how you increase stamina. And that's so ironic. I'll tell you why it's ironic. Because the definition of stamina is lasting power. It's our ability to do things uninterrupted without taking breaks. The irony of that, how you build stamina, is by chunking things down and voluntarily taking more breaks and doing things in smaller chunks, believe it or not. So if stamina is something that you are struggling with, pay attention to that. Chunk those things down, voluntarily take those breaks, okay? Let's talk about the speed in which you do things as well, because speed is really important. We don't need you doing everything super fast, but I don't need you doing everything super slow either, because those are 2 extremes, okay? The middle, right? How fast you brush your teeth. I used to brush my teeth really fast. How fast do you eat food? I used to drink water for whatever reason, like I was dehydrated in the desert for like 50 days. Watch the speed and pace in which you do things, because your brain and your body are both watching. It's very important. Regular pace, right? That can really help there. Okay. Some of you are probably still stuck on my first point. How do I know when I'm doing too much or too little? How is that actually defined in my specific situation? I'll try to make it a little bit more clear as I can through a video, but I would really have to probably work with you one-on-one with this, but I'll try my best. If you are pulling back in an adjustment period and you don't feel like you're ready to expand until your symptoms are very low or until they make you feel comfortable and then you go, general rule of thumb, you're probably waiting too long if that's the case. I made that same mistake too. I would wait until I was comfortable in order for me to go again. And then I would go again until I felt very uncomfortable. Then I would pull back, right? I'd make that mistake a lot. Instead, what you want to do is understand that your baseline is not comfortable, right? Understand that for the majority of the time, you're actually going to feel symptoms at a constant level that are uncomfortable. But then ask yourself, even within this discomfort, are my symptoms manageable? If your symptoms are uncomfortable, but they're manageable, you need to gently start going a little bit, challenging yourself a little bit more, right? Gently, slowly, but still, you must. And then when your symptoms start getting very uncomfortable or teasing on the line of overwhelm, you got to pull it back. Okay, you got to slow it down, pull it back a little bit. And then when it goes down to the point where, yes, they're still uncomfortable, but they're quite manageable, go again. Okay, that's a little bit more gray area and a lot less extreme. Oh, I'm feeling really good. Now I'm going to push it to the limits. Oh my goodness, now I'm pushing it way to the limits. Now I have to pull back and pull back. All right, my symptoms are very low. Now I feel like I'm comfortable going, and we're just touching from one extreme to the other. The nervous system doesn't like that. Instead, it likes a little bit more of a middle area where you can go, okay, so I'm expanding. Okay, I'm starting to feel quite noticeably uncomfortable. I don't want to take it to the point where I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to pull back a little bit. I'm going to slow down my activity. All right, now my symptoms are uncomfortable, but they're starting to get manageable again, so I'm going to go again. All right, perfect. And we're starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, getting there, pulling back a little bit. Okay, now my symptoms are going down. Now they're starting to get manageable. Okay, I'm going to go again. So it's like this instead of like this is what keeps people in a lot of trouble. Okay, one last tip that I have for you before I let you go. Understand this concept. When your nervous system is in a very sensitive place, your brain has a tendency to overshoot its expectations and the things that it feels like it can do. You've probably experienced a day where you felt really good and then you had a lot of motivation and you were very excited about it and you wanted to use your energy because you haven't had the privilege to be able to move in a really long time. And then on that good day, your brain goes, you know what? I want to do this and 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 this. And what do? You go on to listen to your brain 100% and then afterwards you pay the price. Okay? No more. We're not doing that anymore. Moving forward, when you have a good day and your brain says, let's do all of these things, I'm not saying you can't listen to your brain. You absolutely can, but don't listen to it 100%. It's overshooting and you're not even aware, okay? Listen to it maybe 60, 70% maximum, because that other 30%, that's not genuine energy that you have. That's adrenaline, and you don't want to move off of adrenaline. It doesn't feel good afterwards. You've known this. You've experienced this before. We all have. Those are my tips for you. I hope they've helped you. Take these tips, apply them to your life and your recovery, and who knows, maybe that might be the final roadblock for you to really get out of this mess. Okay? Excellent. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Again, my name is Coach Junior. I'll catch you later. Bye.
Let's say that CFS recovery is absolutely the real deal.
I actually felt like somebody had an answer, like somebody explained what was going on, and it all clicked.